Hi guys, something a bit different. In this video I'm going to be looking at this sprue of Oathmart Heavy Dwarves.
Scruffy Crow.
Alright, so I've got all sorts of different dwarves in my army now, and I'm not overly keen on the regular dwarves from what I've seen of them. But these heavy dwarves sort of been getting my attention, because obviously they're all over the Oathmark Facebook page, and they do look like they come with some nice options. So I thought I'd pick up a sprue, see what I thought, and if I like the look of them and they fit in nicely, I'll pick up a big box when I buy my humans. Thirst thwarts, they are lovely models. Got some really nice faces. I really like this one, and some of the whole helmeted faces are pretty cool. This one looks a bit chaos dwarfy, but I am wondering, as was my sort of initial thought, if the sort of bulk of the bodies and the broadness of the faces aren't really going to match in with many of the other dwarves that I've got. But we'll put one together and we'll see how he looks. Okay, so I got two of these guys built and painted up. The paint scheme is just the same as all the rest of my dwarves in my whole army. I will say they are a joy to put together. They're just like any of the other Northstar sprues I've ever used, so they are pretty cool to put together. You don't get much variation in the poses, you're kind of stuck to however the arm is. I think if you tried to pose them too differently to the sort of standard ways, you'd end up with some slightly weird poses. But that's alright, especially as these are designed to be rank and file troops. As far as painting goes, with them all being different, so I only did these two, but I did notice that all the torsos are different. It won't be quite as repetitive as my spearmen, so that goes to see if you like that or not. Personally, if I'm doing troops, I'd rather them all be identical, because I am A, boring like that, and B, find doing monopose stuff quite relaxing. But you know, they're certainly not hard to paint. I've only used a few different colours here: the silver, gold, blue, some skin tones and things. So they're not complex. Obviously, you could do a much better job than I've done, but I think you could also do a much simpler job and still get some pretty nice looking miniatures. They were fun to put together, and they were not bad to paint. What we've got here is a little line of my other miniatures that make up my army. I'm just going to drop these in alongside them. As you see from the sort of top, so your table level, your sort of 4 foot distance, they look fine. But if we start to look a bit more closely, I did take the bases off these guys because they come on these little bases here. I did snip that away, so this would be a fairer comparison because these guys are right down onto their base. And side by side you can see that the face is a lot wider, obviously the beards are shorter, and they're just a bit shorter overall. Because these guys are sort of hunched over, they've got their knees bent, where these guys are stood up as tall as they get. So these guys are probably a head taller overall, but a similar amount of bulk. And then for the line breaker type guy, actually here's the ones I'm using as line breakers. There's their line breakers. So once again, he's substantially smaller. They certainly wouldn't fit in a unit together. In fact, I wondered if I'd use this guy once I'd painted him as a champion for my line breakers. So popping out the slight conversion I made, and actually I think that kind of looks terrible. Oh, this angle it doesn't look too bad. Hang on, let's see if I can get you a face on. He is a big lad, and he does stand out. So maybe he'd work alright as a sort of champion, but as an officer I think he's far too large. He is a tall dwarf. Also in front of me I have a Oathmart Dwarf. Now this guy is still stood on his sort of integral base, so I'll just lift this up a little bit. And as you'd expect, this fits in fairly well, but I would say he is taller than these guys, because once again this guy is stood up straight, whereas this guy is hunched over with bent legs. So these guys are a bit taller and a bit bulkier than the Oathmark metals, Goes for the king as well. But they certainly fit in. I mean, they should do. They are from the same range. And then finally, I've got one of my Conqueror Dwarves that I've recently finished. And he actually is a bit little in comparison to these guys. That's fine because they're my border guard, meant to be a bit more agile. So obviously compared to this guy, he is, once again, he's on a sort of integral base, so he's lifted up already. But he is pretty small. It's not really coming across on the camera, but yeah, he's a little fella compared to this guy. However, I think if I did do a unit of these, maybe as warriors, they certainly wouldn't look too out of place. They wouldn't look crazy on the battlefield next to each other. I probably won't be picking up any more of these because I have, one, because I said they don't really scale very well, and two, because I've honestly got enough dwarves now. The rank and file troops are done, and I think this project as a whole, because it wasn't meant to be an ongoing army, it was more meant to be a set sort of number of units, get some gains in, see what I like and what I don't like, and then I'll start a more involved project to get an army that I'm really keen on. But I'm still definitely very impressed with this sprue. Some really nice bits and pieces here. Certainly get used for all sorts of conversions. There's all sorts of little interesting things like the little tankard here and some spare daggers and a horn and all that sort of stuff's definitely going to see some use. In fact, the army I've got in planned might get a few of these shields used as well, just to sort of break things up a bit, and maybe even some of these axes. So yeah, definitely glad I picked it up. They are beautiful models, but like the standard dwarves, possibly just not for me at the moment. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.